and by the way, those around the topic of censorship. Here are a few books that are saying they're in the dark library. Like the dark web. They're just on topics that are, shall I say, on the dark side. Okay, I don't know how else to put it. Book of the Dead, the Egyptian Book of the Dead. Some movies have been made featuring that. Some creepy ones. Discovery of Witchcraft. Here's an early book on devils and spirits. H.P. Lovecraft. There's some kind of series. I haven't seen it on HBO, but if you ever read his books about journeys into the land of the dead and strange creatures and being buried alive and all kinds of creepy things, oh my goodness. And the one we started with, all of them witches, this actually is a scene, it's a still from the film Rosemary's Baby. Rosemary's Baby was a book too, by the way, before it became a film. Fabulous film, directed by Roman Polanski, starring Mia Farrow. And she is getting suspicious about some things, and she gets hold of this book and finds out some interesting things about some of her neighbors. Books as symbols. Our author, Stanley Barron, starts the chapter of books with talking about a scene from Fahrenheit 451. The film, but it was originally a book by a science fiction writer named Ray Bradbury. Here it is as a paperback, 35 cents. This must have been early 1960s. Fahrenheit 451 is the temperature, supposedly, that will burn a book. Books as symbols. So because, again, they are real and printed, and you can carry, they're portable, you carry these ideas around with you. You carry these earth-shattering, sometimes disturbing ideas for some people are there in the books. They're flammable. And so we talk not just about censorship and banning, but about burning books as symbols of, in this case, liberalism, immorality. This is Nazi Germany. And this is a scene of books that the Nazis deemed inappropriate for Germans to read. Here they are being burned. This is, as we look in history, something that repressive governments trying to control people and control their thoughts. This is something that these governments have resorted to from time to time. Here is Hitler Youth burning more books. Again, in the probably late 1930s in Germany. I looked for some more recent examples, and there are some. But the thing that came to mind first for me in looking for something a little more recent, this is my daughter calling me. So let me stop here and pick up. Hang on, I'm just stopping my lecture. I was recording it. Hang on. How are you doing today? Anywho, so here's a more recent example of some other symbolic items being burnt. I hope. Oh, I have to do a little trick here to get this thing to forward. There. All right, so what is this? These are Beatles records being burned. You see the kid there tossing a 45 RPM record, which you guys have probably never seen before. Singles were released on 45 RPMs. So in the mid-60s, John Lennon of the Beatles, someone I kind of idolize, gave an interview in Britain to a British reporter, Maureen Cleave or something, I think her name was. And just talking about this, that, and the other. He's at home. She visits him at home, you know. And during the course of the conversation, he makes a statement to the effect of, you know, the Beatles are more popular than Jesus. Not saying it was a good thing or a bad thing, just saying it was, that's how he observed the world. And this little nugget, this is almost like what happens today with things on the internet, you know, that you said 10 years ago, popping up all of a sudden to whack you in the head. Be careful, everyone. This little item was picked up by U.S. media, and this got certain people who were fundamental Christians, or let's just say, let's just say fundamental Christians, particularly in the South, incensed. They were DJs, you know, radio disc jockeys who went on and organized Beatle record burnings. And this is in the South somewhere, and this is a Beatle record burning. And the Beatles ended up touring very soon after all these things, the burnings and everything else, and they got death threats. John Lennon did. They had to have guards in the stadiums. John Lennon had to make a statement. He did not apologize. It's a very interesting statement he made. You should Google it. But the Beatles, here, records, not books. But let's face it, I mean, yes, we're going back to vinyl, but records in those days were the only way you could really get music, records in the radio. And you could hold the music in your hand, and therefore you had something that was a symbol that you could burn, just as is the case with books. Here's something I pulled from Smithsonian Magazine. This was 2017. It's about Al-Qaeda Islamists invading Mali and Timbuktu. They were looking for priceless manuscripts to burn them. And here's a case of someone, Abdel Kader Hadera, who risked his life to protect medieval scrolls and books, 350,000 manuscripts to save the books. And down below here, books and libraries have been targeted by people of all backgrounds for thousands of years, sometimes intentionally, sometimes it's a side effect of war. In 213, before Christ, Chinese Emperor Qi Shi Huang, he built the Terracotta Army in Xi'an. By the way, Xi'an, Xian, is my daughter's name, who just called me. It's funny. Anyway, books being burned. Let's stop here. Our next topic is books as a source for content in other media.